What's good people? Welcome to Whole Views. Thank you for clicking that thumbnail. My name is Corey, and today we're going to be discussing Shazam 2 Fury of the Gods. So this is going to be my spoiler review for the new Shazam movie. It is the latest one in that franchise. I believe it to be the final one in that franchise. And DC has a whole bunch going on with the shuffling and reordering and James Gunn being in charge and all that stuff. So we don't know if we're going to get more of this, but I did want to share my thoughts on the final one. I thought the first one was pretty good. I never really did a review on it, but I thought it was a really solid movie. I enjoyed it. I had fun with that first one. I was expecting more of the same. Sadly, I did not get more of the same. I'm way more down on this one than I was the first one, but I don't believe, like the internet would have you believe, that this movie is an absolute dumpster fire. It really wasn't that bad. If I had to use a word to describe it, I would say mid, because it is exactly what it is. It's a middle of the road movie. It's worse than something like 65, but at the same time, it's not better than something like Ant-Man Quantumania, which is surprising. I think the bigger issue is that people don't really accept middle of the road, mid superhero movies anymore. I think Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame really spoiled the movie-going audience. They saw the potential as to how good and how great these movies could be, and now that's the new standard, and that's what they want. They want excellence. Fans want excellence at every single release, and we just won't get that with every single one of them. If you want a fair comparison to Shazam 2, you would have to look no further than Shazam's comic book villain and arch nemesis, Black Adam. Like, that is the perfect parallel to this movie. It's another movie in the DC universe, recently released with a lot of hype and some high expectations, and it was mid, and that's the closest thing that I can compare this one to. I think Shazam 2 is slightly better than Black Adam, but at the same time, they suffer from a lot of the same issues. In Black Adam, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was outshined by his co-stars. It's not a bad thing to be outshined by Pierce Brosnan. Like, that is a seasoned actor. He's the best part of the movie, Dr. Fate. I remember people coming out of that movie and saying, like, I want more Dr. Fate. I heard people say, I want more Hawkman. I even heard people saying, I would like, or I wish Atom Smasher and Cyclone had more to do because they were great and I like to see more of them. Like, I heard that about every cast member except Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Like, nobody said, I want to see more Black Adam. No, that was not the thought coming out of that movie. And it's the same thing here with Shazam. You like a lot of the characters that they put on display, but Zachary Levi is probably the thing you like the least. He's probably the least favorite part of the movie, and he's the person that you get the most of. Let's talk positives. We got Grace Curry, who plays Mary. She did great. I enjoyed her. We have Megan Good and Faith Herman both playing the character of Darla. Darla was perfect. I really enjoyed every time Megan Good got to speak, because I feel like she really nailed Faith Harmon's Darla. Like, that, those two characters were very closely connected. I liked the nature of their performances. Rachel Zegler's Anne and Jack Grazer's Freddie Freeman, both of those characters were pretty good as well. Like, they played smaller roles, and I really like the parts that they were in. I enjoyed them. Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren were okay as the Daughters of Atlas. They were decent villains, not the best villains, but also not the worst villains. I think that is a problem that this movie Shazam 2 also has with Black Adam, just like really forgettable villains like Intergang. Who are they? They are unimportant. They are not the star of the show. They don't really get you connected to their motivations as to why they're doing what they're doing. So yeah, Daughters of Atlas, not the best villains, but still, you know, decent performances from each of them, Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren. And what does that leave us with? That leaves us with Zachary Levi, who was really annoying to me in the majority of his time on screen in this movie. And that's bad, because you get so much Zachary Levi in this movie. You really don't get much of Asher Angel, who plays Billy Batson, the teenage version. I do feel like Asher does play the role of Billy Batson very differently from Zachary Levi playing the adult version of Billy Batson with the Shazam powers. Like, they were on two different tones. They were tonally off. Zachary Levi's comedy doesn't always hit, but that's not a huge deal, because it's comedy. It's not gonna land every time for everyone. And because of that, that's gonna result in some cringe-worthy moments. And that's not all on Zachary Levi. I actually wanna look at this and take some of the blame that people have placed on Zachary Levi, and I wanna put some of it on the director, David F. Sandberg. Listen, I've never made a movie. I can't sit here and claim to know all the ins and outs of movie making. But what I can say unequivocally is that the director gives direction. If someone is acting in a way that the director feels is inappropriate or not in line with the vision that he has for the film, it's his job to say, hey, dial it back. And I feel like he should have did that to Zachary Levi at some point in the production of the movie. Like, he should have been pulled aside and said, hey, like, I know we are playing Shazam, like the fun superhero, but like, you're having too much fun. You're having more fun than Asher is in a lot of his scenes where you see Asher transition to Billy. Like, it didn't vibe right. I felt as though Zachary Levi was playing a goofy 18-year-old and Asher Angel was playing a more somber, slightly more serious 18-year-old. And it just didn't feel right at all between those two characters, the switching back and forth. Even though we didn't get much switching here, Zachary Levi just came off as a lot more immature than Asher appeared to be when he was on screen. And that's just how the movie turned out. And I think that is due to direction. Like, Zachary Levi should have been pulled aside and said, hey, you need to balance this out a little bit better. And it just never happened. And that left us with the movie that we have, a movie that is a middle of the road movie. Now, before getting out of here and wrapping things up, I do want to talk about, a few positives that I have and one minor nitpick that I feel like is worthy of being discussed. So first, the two cool points. So people like to talk about the connectivity of these universes and how it's too much or it's not enough. And I feel like Shazam was just perfectly connected. The Wonder Woman cameo was very nice. I thought that when they did it in the film and then they put Diamond Hansu's face on Wonder Woman, like, that was played for comedy, and that was also like poking fun at the audience, like, hey, we're doing it again. We have a cameo, but we're not really showing the face. I'm glad that they, one, used it for comedic purposes in the movie, and then also I like that they paid it off at the end of the movie with actually having Wonder Woman involved and her being present, and Shazam is in that world. That's cool stuff. Another cool moment of connectivity was the mid-credit scene where you get two agents from Peacemaker showing up in here and they're recruiting Shazam to be a part of the Justice Society, not the Justice League. And then he has the little list of names and all that stuff. I thought that stuff was very funny. I thought it was very cool that they have Zack Levi, Shazam in there. One, just being silly and shooting cans, but then also doing all the different name drops that they could possibly do in the Avengers Society or whatever it was that he came up with. Like, that was cool to kind of like poke fun at the Marvel connection when he's a DC Films guy. All that stuff was cool to me, and I was fine to see that Peacemaker universe get connected to the films, because I really liked the Peacemaker show. But there's one nitpick though, movie being mid and, okay enough experience, a fun enough experience, and saying that it was decent, all that stuff aside, there's one thing that I wanted to mention when talking about this film that I found to be just utterly ridiculous. And that was Pedro and the gay scene. Now, there's no actual male-on-male activity or anything like that in which I'm speaking of. I'm talking about the scene in which he was sitting on the sofa watching a baseball game with his mom, but at the same time he has a magazine open to a man in underwear, like an underwear ad, while watching TV with his mom. Like, when was the last time any of these people who made these decisions to let this scene exist, when was the last time were y'all all teens? Like, one, people don't look at people in magazines as a way to like get a visual of what you want. That doesn't really happen anymore at all, y'all. Next point is a major point in that nitpick. How is it his mom can be literally shoulder to shoulder with him and she doesn't see the magazine? She has to see. And if she has to see, she has to say something. You can't have that stuff happening with you right there, regardless of orientation. Imagine me having a son who is 15, 16 years old, and he's looking at the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated, the one where they do the nude everything, and he's in there in the magazine, sitting shoulder to shoulder with me. Like, that's not happening. That's not happening. I don't know what kind of parenting y'all be doing, but not up in here. It's just like, it's not going down up in here. And I feel like that's true of any and every household across the land. I felt like that scene was preposterous. I understand they was trying to allude to the fact that Pedro was gay, and then he had this little moment later, and it was very cool the way the family handled it. Like, yeah, we know, no big deal. That's the way it should be handled among siblings at the very least. But To say that happened in the movie or in the little world that the movie is trying to create, nonsense, bro. Would never happen in real life. Things like that just don't occur, I don't believe anymore. Anyway, with all that stuff aside, let me know your thoughts on Shazam. Do you think it was an absolute dumpster fire like a lot of people are talking about it? Or do you feel like it was mid and it was fine and a cool little superhero movie, nothing special at all, nothing to write home about? That's kind of my thoughts on it. Like it wasn't bad, it wasn't an absolute trash film, but it also wasn't amazing and it wasn't like a knock out of the park either. Just let me know your thoughts and where you land on that movie in the comment section. I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you for watching the video thus far if you have. And that's all for this one, y'all. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something